looking forward very much to talking to our next guest. He will be making his debut on the program, and someone who I have admired and wanted to talk to for quite some time. He is currently the founder and the brainchild of Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. It is his brainchild, and he is also a person who has been in the pro wrestling business for decades, and pretty proud to say that he's a part of the Uncrowned team. Last 2 weeks, he has shared with all of us the D'Amore drop, which is something that I was thinking about when we launched all this. I always loved the Ross report on WWF.com, then WWE.com. The great Jim Ross giving us his thoughts, his random notes, nuggets, backstage little tidbits, if you will, on the business. And I thought when talking to our mutual friend Ant Evans that he would be perfect for it. And I loved what he had been, building and what started late last year with Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling and everything that he's done. And of course, I am biased towards the Canadians, and so I thought it would be great on this Monday after WrestleMania to have him on for the first time, to pick his brain on what transpired this weekend, and also talk about what he is doing, the great things that he is doing with Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. And so without further ado, let us say hello to the man himself, Scott D'Amore. There he is. Hello, Scott. How are you?
Great, Ariel. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a real pleasure. It's a real honor to have you on the program, and a formal welcome to the Uncrowned team. I have loved the last two pieces that you've done for us leading up to WrestleMania, and I'm so delighted that you are a part of this team in any small way, because I think you are a brilliant mind when it comes to pro wrestling.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I was honored to be asked to be part of it. I think Uncrowned is filling a void that exists out there to cover all types of combat sports. And it's been fun. I think my high school English teacher would be shocked and probably a little happy that I'm actually out there writing something that's being seen by people around the world.
I love it. I love it. All right. So part of the reason why I wanted to have you on was to talk about the great things that you are doing with Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. We will get to that in a moment. But of course, WrestleMania has come and gone. And what I liked about the pieces in particular was how assertive you were with your thoughts. The first one you told us, John Cena has to go over. The second one you told us, Jey Uso has to go over. Both of them did go over, but as you know, in pro wrestling, it's not just about the result. Perhaps that may be the case in MMA and boxing, but here it's about the story and the journey. And so could I ask you, as it pertains to Cena first, did they get it right? What did you think of that main event on Sunday?
I mean, look, I thought it was interesting, as you said. Like I expressed my opinion. I thought the Cena winning is the right decision. WrestleMania doesn't often end with a heel, with an unhappy ending, and I think this is the right call. Like I talked about in the column, Cody Rhodes at this point is a made guy. You look at what he did. He left WWE to go make his mark. He went and did that in Ring of Honor. He did it in Japan. He obviously did it in AEW. Then he returned to Conquering Hero. I don't know there is as many fun places to go if Cody Rhodes comes out on top. And now you do a few things. One, you establish John Cena in the WWE version of history as having the most world title reigns ever at 17. So he eclipses Ric Flair in that spot, which is important, I think, for John's legacy. And you get to have John Cena have one last run, and you get to do it with a fresh coat of paint with him as a heel. So it's been so long since John Cena has been anything other than the hero. And for a lot of those years, I think obviously it's no secret that the fans weren't behind him, or a good chunk of the fans weren't behind him. They were vocally against him. So I think this gives good credence and a rationale for why John Cena would go this way. So I just think you have some great pivot points. I think that, I know that people were disappointed, a lot of them, with it, and I get it. You want that WrestleMania main event to be 5-star, and you want that WrestleMania main event to leave you satisfied, and this was very purposely an ending that leaves you unsatisfied, and that sometimes is the right call.
Okay, so you say it was purposely left unsatisfied, and I think part of the reason why people are unsatisfied is not only maybe because like how the match went, but mainly because The Rock didn't show up. And so the idea to not have The Rock, who kind of started this whole thing last year, Mania, the Monday after Mania with Cody, and then of course Elimination Chamber, the thing that happened with Cena turning heel and Travis Scott, him not showing up felt like a massive, massive void. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it's funny because for me watching it, I kind of knew The Rock wasn't showing up, right? As
Really?
a quote unquote inside. I just
Okay.
you could just tell, like I didn't like not like somebody said, "Hey, The Rock's not going to be there," but it didn't feel like they were heading in that direction. But certainly, as a friend of mine told me who was at the show live, there was a large segment of the audience that stayed there and waited because there's got to be something happening here, right? The Rock's got to be coming out at the end this. So I certainly, not having Rock there is a disappointing part of it. And the fact is, booking wrestling, as Triple H said in his Hall of Fame speech, Dusty Rhodes' old quote, "Booking ain't easy." And it's certainly not. So, it's easy to play Monday Night Quarterback, say, "Hey, I do this, I do that." I'd have The Rock come out. Well, of course. You deal with the cards you were dealt, right? The hands you were dealt. Not having The Rock there obviously is a hindrance, especially after such a powerful moment that happened at Elimination Chamber there with John Cena's turn and that whole thing, obviously, and The Rock being a centerpiece of that. But for whatever reason, Rock is not a piece of this puzzle right now. Hopefully, he will be in the near future. This would be a great way to have another chapter of it. Like, what is going to happen when The Rock shows up? John Cena now is the world champion. John Cena has stated that he's going to ruin wrestling. What's The Rock's take going to be on that? Is he going to show up and agree with them? Is he going to be against them? Is he going to show up as the final boss and ask his loyal soldier to kneel in front of him? Like who knows, and who knows where it goes. So I think while I totally get that not having The Rock there is disappointing to a lot of fans, and that's a very justified opinion. The fact is, I always say the card that we start with, the dream scenario booking, the blue sky scenario, always ends up so very, very different after all the changes and injuries and all types of issues that affect it. We call it the domino effect, right? Because you can't just plug and play one person or one situation. So it usually has a domino effect through the card and the build up to the cards. So totally think that's a legitimate gripe by people, but let's see what the future holds.
I said at the beginning of the show that the Cena turn now, 2 months in, has felt a little flat for me, and the reason for that is like when it happened, people were comparing it to Hogan in '96. And I said it wasn't necessarily fair to do that because we know how that story plays out, and this was 48 hours old. But I felt comfortable then saying I don't think it will be as impactful and influential as Hogan in '96. And I feel even more comfortable saying that now because to me it feels like Cena is playing heel. And one thing that I hate about wrestling is when it feels like someone is playing pro wrestler. It's the reason why I felt like Ronda Rousey never really quite got it because it felt like she was playing pro wrestler. When Hogan turned, it felt to me like he was a true dick. Dominic Mysterio feels like a true kind of dirtbag, if you will, although now people love him, and that's great to see that arc. It doesn't feel like Cena's fully comfortable being this bad guy, and I don't feel like he is this bad guy, and so it feels like he is playing pro wrestler. It feels like he's playing heel. It's inauthentic. Do you agree or disagree with that sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the turn at Elimination Chamber was great. I think they did some good business last night. You can certainly critique all the in between of that. It's a tough spot, right? John, doesn't have a lot of experience being in this role, and as a guy who's been in that hero, casting that hero role for so long, it probably does feel a little awkward, right? It's probably something he could have dug his teeth into more, a dozen or 15 years ago. I think there's some validity to the playing wrestling aspect that you talk about. That's one of our favorite terms, right? Like when guys aren't wrestlers, they're playing wrestling. But I think really, I think. I think part of it comes down to when Hulk turned in WCW, was such a different world. It is so hard to keep people's attention span, and there's so many more critics out there on a daily basis critiquing it. So, is Cena been the perfect heel? No, he's playing it by the book. Part of it might be that people just don't want to accept him as that. But I think I liked him coming out with no video wall. I liked him coming out with the bare bones entrance. I like that he still goes out there and rocks the jorts. So he's representing for all of us people who are still out there rocking jorts in 2025, including myself right now. And I think that, I mean, let's see where it goes. It probably could use a little spice and a little intrigue. I thought going into Mania, it was important that John win, because that seemed to be where the stories unfolding in the future are. And hopefully that involves The Rock, and hopefully that brings that emotion that people are looking for. But I think in general, I mean, we've got Cena in this new role. Let's give him some time to get his legs, and hopefully as we build towards SummerSlam as the next big show, then hopefully we see a little of heating up, as we like to say.
Jey taps Gunther. Did you like that?
Yeah, I do, right? Like, I think, I mean, look, I feel really good today in the sense I was 3 for 3 on my predictions, and I even throw in a Joe Hendry reference for those paying attention.
We'll get to him, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So look, I think it was important. Gunther has been booked extremely strong through his entire run there. Jey is an organic baby face. It's that Bryan Danielson. It's that Joe Hendry. And I really think that that Jey needed that win. And that tap out really kind of cements the legitimacy of it. I mean, he got Gunther to blink in that in-ring on TV there. Was it a couple weeks ago now? He showed that he had no fear, and we saw really for the first time some real cracks in the armor of Gunther. So I liked it. It's different. I think that in 2025, tap outs are completely acceptable. Finish to matches. I think when used right, they add to matches. I came into a wrestling business where you'd be told a babyface never taps, because why would the hero ever give up? But I mean, the rise of mixed martial arts has certainly changed people's perception of that. We know there's no real cowardice in it. But I think in this instance, with the heel and Gunther tapping, it shows, it cements that fact that Jey showed up and didn't just eke out a win against Gunther. He beat him down, and he made him give up. And I think after everything we've seen with Jey getting the crap beat out of him by Gunther, with Jimmy and getting beat up while Jey had to watch, and the stuff with their mother, I think it was the right ending. And I think Gunther's back up and running whenever they want to. You give him a break for a few weeks or a couple months, or you drop him right back in something. It's not gonna hurt him in the long run. And I think it meant something to James. So
you referenced my favorite moment of the whole weekend, and that's Joe Hendry. I love him, love what he stands for, love the sort of like manifesting your own destiny, how far he's come. He shows up at Rumble and he starts talking about a potential Mania appearance. He starts talking about defending his belt against. It's all just beautiful. It's what makes wrestling so special. This man very well. I would imagine you used to be TNA president, and you were a part of that resurgence or that revitalization, or maybe that just like breakout in his career. What are you thinking when you see him walking out at WrestleMania to go up against Randy Orton as a surprise entrance, and the crowd reacting to him and having a positive reaction to him?
Yeah, I was really happy for Joe. Brought Joe in to Impact first in 2018 on the recommendation of a longtime buddy of mine, Jeffrey Scott, Jeff Kavanaugh, effectively referred to in the industry as Drum Boy. We brought Joe in then. Joe likes to tell a story that in 2018, we were in the UK, and he heard me in an interview say that there's 3 people on that tour that I saw as world champions. That was Moose, that was Josh Alexander, and that was Joe Hendry. And I did, because once I saw Joe, you saw that, he gets critiqued for his his wrestling, quote unquote, wrestling talent, which is ironic since he's an accomplished amateur wrestler. But Joe's such an entertainer, and having him, he left in 18, came back, signed a long-term deal. Was excited to sign him to a long-term deal in Impact TNA Wrestling. Look, from a booking perspective, we had Joe slotted to be a world champion. But like if we hadn't, he still would have ended up here because the organic way in which he connected made the job easy in booking Joe. Like I think we might have put the belt on Joe a little earlier. I think TNA decided to wait a little bit, and that's okay. But having Joe walk out there, this is a guy who it's fun, and in a business that sometimes lacks fun in the right ways. I think Joe's fun in all the right ways, and seeing a great guy like Joe who works so hard and is so hard on himself, so incredibly hard on himself. We had many talks in go position or gorilla position where he was stressed out before he went out, or still beating himself up when he got back, even though we felt he had done well. So to see Joe go out there and have that moment at WrestleMania, I think that's pretty damn cool for him. And I know there's lots of people on both sides of the coin. Was it good for TNA? Was it not? Well, their world champion and the world title was on Mania. That's pretty cool. He got beat in 3 minutes. That's not. But it was against Randy Orton, which is a pretty acceptable one. And most importantly, it was a lot of freaking fun.
Amen. Can I ask, and I'm not trying to drum up old feelings or as John Cena said yesterday, hit you with a clickbait question, but I'm someone, I don't know if you know this, I used to order the $9.99 TNA pay-per-views, the weekly pay-per-views when I was in college, and that's how big of a fan I was when they're happening in Nashville and Alabama, and I really wanted this thing to succeed because it was filling a void that WCW left when it disappeared and when it was bought by WWF. I still can't understand why you're no longer the president. I remember a couple of years ago checking it out, being like, wow, TNA is not only back, but it's like thriving and building talent, and it looks cool, and it looks like a place like people want to go. And perhaps it's the alternative to AEW where, there's different stuff going on here, but this seems like a place where people are having fun. And then one day I wake up and you're no longer there. Can you explain this to me? Is it annoying for you to explain this to me? I don't get it. And it seems like you're happy and in a great place. I do not understand this one. How does this make any sense?
Wow. That makes two of us, buddy. So, look, it's, decisions get made. I can be a strong cup of tea or, a biting sip of whiskey, whatever analogy you want to use at time. I was passionate about Impact Wrestling. Here's one for you. Like I spent a long time fighting to make Impact Wrestling TNA Wrestling again. Because TNA Wrestling mattered to me. Impact Wrestling never really did. I was happy to tackle it. But in my heart, it was always TNA Wrestling. I fought hard for that branding because there was a lot of, if it was left into Anthem upper management, I don't know you'd ever see TNA again because they went back to all the old stuff about the connotations with TNA and tits and ass and everything else, and wanted to focus on Impact, which I understand. But me and a small group really believed in the TNA branding, and I think that's what led to a lot of the surge, right? I mean, if you're doing a lot of the things now that you're doing as TNA Wrestling and you're doing them as Impact Wrestling, I don't know if they bite the same. TNA has a place. It's aged very well, whereas at one point it was the whipping child of a lot of people in the wrestling business. It's now thought of as something fondly. When you think of the 2002 to 2009 TNA Wrestling, which is my era of TNA Wrestling, I like to say, is that was some really great counter programming. I think we made a lot of mistakes, but we worked real hard to try to do right the next time out. And I think we did a lot. I think we were good for the business. Would I like to still be there heading TNA Wrestling? Absolutely. Do I feel like it got pulled out of my hands? Absolutely. Does Len Asper and Anthem Sports have every right to do that? Absolutely. So I'm I get a little frustrated. There's times where I look at it and, especially when I see like them pulling the trigger on Joe, which was part of our plan, moving the tentpole pay-per-views to bigger venues. That was part of our proposal. And a lot of the decisions we see and the talent that we signed and fostered being featured. But that's the name of the game. You know, the the guy in charge that's holding the purse strings made a decision to make a pivot, and he made that pivot. And is it frustrating? Sure, especially as the guy who made the reach out for the WWE relationship. It's bittersweet to see like the stuff with Jordan Grace, when she went there. It's bittersweet to see the stuff with Joe, because it's great to see, and it's like you're seeing your vision seen through in some ways. But it kind of kicks you in the gut a little to have it happen without you. But at the end of the day, I was a paid executive. I was a paid consultant. Technically, I think was my title for Anthem Sports. I think myself and Don Callis and Jimmy Jacobs and Eric Tompkins, and there's so many people, I can't name them all, did an amazing job of taking a brand that was completely effing dead, and putting life into it and bringing back that TNA name, no matter where it goes from now. If that's part of my legacy, I'm comfortable with that. So would I like it to have continued? Yes. Do I think I would have done good with it? Of course I would, because I have an ego. But wasn't the case. That's why I pivot and do something different. That's why we've got MLP, and that's why we got some other stuff cooking around that's going to pop up in the next little bit. And the wrestling business, the business is bigger than one person. I always say, the business is bigger than one person. The company's bigger than one person. So my number got pulled, and I was removed, and is what it is. Do I like the call? No. Would I like to kick some dirt on somebody's shoes one day about it? Sure, maybe, but it's not what I want to wake up and be bitter about. I had 7+ great years with Anthem Sports, mostly great years, and that's what I'll choose to dwell on.
I appreciate that candor. Can I ask you about that call? Because I don't think that WWE has any interest whatsoever in working with TNA if you didn't revitalize it. As you said, it was a dead brand, and it felt almost like a toxic brand, like no one wanted anything to do with it. What's that call? Who are you calling? How do you start building that bridge to where we are today, where they're acknowledging the belt, they're acknowledging the athlete, and there's this partnership between NXT and TNA? Hey there, sorry to interrupt. Just want to remind you, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate it very much. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up too. We've got live shows, interviews, clips, and a whole lot more going on this here channel. All right, now back to the show.
Yeah, it started with me reaching out to Ed Norholm, who was my primary contact on day-to-day basis, from the senior level of Anthem Sports, and saying, what do you think about this? It's something that had been discussed, and even Richard Schaefer, who was with Anthem at the time, who's very well known in boxing and pay-per-view circles, it had been discussed, and it's like, I think the time's right. Like, let's reach out. So I won't say the name of the person I reached out to, because I'm not sure they would want to, but I reached out to somebody at WWE, had a conversation, and I was actually sitting at this very table in my pool room overlooking the golf course when I got a text from a number I didn't know. I had to send the number to somebody and say, "Is this really Hunter's number?" And they wrote back, "Yeah." So then had a nice chat. That got the ball rolling. A lot of the stuff that we talked about in those initial calls is still going, which is great. I want to be very clear about this. I'm the person that reached out. I wasn't the only person that was involved in the process. I was able to get the conversation started, get Jordan in the Rumble, get Jordan on NXT. Like some of these things, I was able to get them into the works. But the relationship has been picked up and handled without me since then. And I think, there's been, there's certainly been, some upside to it. There's some people that argue some downside as well. But if you look at it, the relationship is growing. And I think you judge this relationship. I always say, don't judge us today. Don't judge us tomorrow. Judge us in a year, 2 years, 5 years. So we'll see where it goes. So it was exciting to be one of the catalysts for that. It was exciting to be the point person on that. Triple H was great to deal with. for the period in time in which I was that point person. He was good even after, one of the first people to reach out after the news broke that I was let go. I think he's doing an admirable job in a pretty tough spot. Like that seat he sits in, you're always going to get criticized, and sometimes it's going to be justified, right? When I was on a much smaller level, overseeing things for TNA wrestling, there's times you look at something and you just go, that's not exactly how I wanted that to play out, and you work hard to fix it after that. So I'm proud to be part of that process. I'm proud to be the person who is, at the point of contact there. And I'm interested to see where it develops from here.
Considering what happened with TNA, have you told yourself you don't want to work for anyone anymore? Because my understanding is you own Maple Leaf, right? You own Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. And so is that it for you? Are you going fully independent in the sense that like you don't want to build something up for someone else and then have it pulled from you?
I mean, look, I guess I'll say, like, I'm always willing to look at opportunities. Am I gung ho looking for a job? No, but I wasn't looking for a job when I went back to when I first went in for Anthem in 2017. It was Jeff Jarrett who called me up and asked me to come down for a couple of days, and I said no. And then he was able to convince me, come on down for a couple of days. Dutch will be there. JB will be there. Abyss. 2 days turned into 3. 3 turned into come back for another 3. That turned into come to Orlando for 4. Then next thing you know, I'm flying to Japan, and I'm on behalf of Anthem and Impact Wrestling, and it goes from there. So I wasn't looking for it last time. It's one of those things. It was always like, am I really independent and on a certain level? Yes. Like, I think one of the problems for Anthem is like, I'm not the guy, like I'm not loyal to the paycheck. I don't want to be condescending about the paycheck at all. It was a very good paycheck and I appreciate it, but my life's not changing based off of what I make in professional wrestling. It's been very good to me, but in an industry that talks about multiple revenue verticals, I've looked to do that outside of the wrestling business as well, right? Like, it's not like just MLP, it's not just the Can-Am Wrestling School, it's not just these things. Like, to me, at the end of the day, I take the skills I learned in professional wrestling. I've used that to move into, property, real estate development on a pretty big level. It's something that I started with my father. My father spent decades in construction. So I get the same excitement out of announcing 160 unit condo project, or like, it's funny. I saw you talk about John Cena's clickbait line. My favorite clickbait line for me was when somebody posted, I saw a headline I saw it on like Facebook or something, and it was like, Scott D'Amore announces new $200 million project in Canada, which everybody thinks is a wrestling project. And I'm sure people clicked on that and went, it's an effing shopping center. But those type of things take up a good chunk of my day. And MLP is obviously a passion of mine. And I still connect and do consulting work with people in the wrestling business behind the scenes. And I'm always open to hear, but I mean, at this point, I'm 51 years old. I've had a career that I'm very proud of. Most importantly, like when I get messages like I got from Alex Shelley the other day, or getting to chat with Joe Hendry late last night, or communicating with Jordan Grace, or like so many of these people, or even like Bozilla, one of my students, who's a young a German female wrestler, who's just spent a year in Japan and just had a big match with Megan Bain. Like those are the things that get me excited. So I don't need to be the president of a company, or I don't need to own the biggest companies. What I want to do is I want to have fun. I want to put out good wrestling, and I want to help people chase their dream. Because without the Terry Taylors who Triple H referenced in his Hall of Fame speech, without the Jody Hamiltons, without the Doug Chevaliers, without the Mickey Doyles, without just so many freaking people, Bad News Allen, all these people that took the time to help bring me along and to try to teach me and to slap me on the nose when I needed it and to give me a little encouragement when I needed it. That's something that I'm so appreciative of. And I consider myself one of the guardians, one of the holders of some of the last secrets of the wrestling business. When you talk about the Terry Taylors and the Jody Hamiltons, the Bad News Allens, the Rick Martells, the people who I got to learn at the feet of. I want to pass those on because I don't want those secrets to go away, that knowledge to go away. Wrestling evolves; it always needs to evolve. Like Kenny Omega is the perfect example, unbelievable on all levels. Like it's not just about the athleticism; it's about the storytelling, it's about the selling, it's all these things. AJ Styles, the evolution of AJ Styles over the years. He's not as athletic as he once was, but in some ways he's so much better than he used to be in some areas. So as long as I can contribute, I'm going to be in and around the wrestling business. And Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling came to exist because it's hard, especially in this hyper political market we're in right now. I didn't know that so much in August when we announced the launch, but I knew it's very tough for non-Americans to get an opportunity. So I wanted to help Canadians. I wanted to help people that are not American get an opportunity to be seen, to build their brands, to learn and be nurtured so they can have those opportunities at a higher level. And if you want to be at the top levels in wrestling, most of the time that's going to involve having to go to the US. So I wanted to give a platform that people would pay attention to teach, to nurture, to develop, and to showcase Canadian and other talent. So they could go out there and say, like, hey, look at the skills we got. I know it's going to take longer for the Canadian talent because it's such a process, the visas and everything else, the work permits. But if you look at it, like Kevin Knight, who rocked it in the main event at MLP last time, and the next thing you know, he signs with AEW. He's has that barn burner at the pay-per-view there at Dynasty. Like it's like seeing Blake Christian go out there, who's great young talent. You've seen a lot of them in GCW, you've seen a little bit of them in AEW, but you've seen a lot more of them in Ring of Honor. Seeing him coming out of the MLP stuff and being showcased on AEW, and like that's cool. You're seeing people in MLP, and then you're going to see them at the higher levels. And I think just like you saw people come from Border City Wrestling and go to WWE, and Border City Wrestling go to TNA, I think MLP will become an even better version of that, in that we're more experienced, we're smarter, we're more organized, we're more tied in, and we're going to look to develop and give opportunities to talent out there. And at the end of the day, if I can do that, then I don't really care what the paycheck is. The payment to me is helping those people and being part of their stories, like Joe's last night.
And so you announced the plans last August. You debut in October. You come back in March. And then you've got this big show, May 10th, I do believe, in Toronto at Maple Leaf Gardens. What was once known as Maple Leaf Gardens, but it will be for all the old-time fans. Beautiful poster, by the way. The promo that you guys put out was fantastic. Also, an early July show in Montreal, which I love. I'm from Montreal. And you have more now. Like you mentioned Border City, and no knock on those, but like this feels like a professional product. It doesn't feel like any sort of indie show. It doesn't feel like a feeder league, if you will. And so we are not quite even close to a year in. How are you feeling about it? A couple shows in, big shows coming up. How are you feeling about what you guys are building at Maple Leaf?
I'm really proud of what we're doing and what our team's done. And we have a murderer's row of people, from Tim Walbert to the legendary Keith Mitchell to Kevin Sullivan, and just so Jeff Bornstein, best lighting director in wrestling history, and just so many people, and even down to, like I mentioned him early, like he was one of my first interns for Border City Wrestling, Jeffrey Scott. Him running the ground and handling merch and promotions and stuff here, and just so many people coming together. The amount of people that have came together to make this something important. It's people that have been at the highest levels of wrestling, and it's people that are just starting to cut their teeth. And I think it's been a great ride so far. And I've said for 20 freaking years at this point that I was going to run Maple Leaf Gardens. I don't know that it ever really made sense before this moment. I got really close in the late 90s into the early 2000s, where it's right around that time period. We almost did it, which I think probably would have been the wrong time. But now to go in there to have this event at the Mattamy Athletic Center, which is the historic Maple Leaf Gardens. That yellow bricks outside is the exact same. That marquee still says Maple Leaf Gardens. And on May 10th, it'll say Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, tonight, 7 p.m. You'll walk in there. You'll go to, it's a 3,000 seat arena now, not a 14, 15,000 seat arena. But you'll walk in there, and I saw it. If you saw that video of me entering the garden, that's the first time I've been in it since they redid the entire building. And I saw that ceiling, that iconic ceiling in Maple Leaf Gardens, because it's still the same ceiling, right? It's on the third floor, so you've got that same ceiling, same domed roof from the outside. So to me, it's a special night. It's something that I promised people for many years we were going to do. I think it's going to be an unbelievably amazing show. I think we put together a great roster of talent. Like you see, we just announced Gabe Kidd, just announced Zach Sabre, Dave Finley. So many amazingly talented people coming together for this. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a special night for Canadian wrestling fans. I think it's going to be a special night for people who grew up going on Sundays to Maple Leaf Gardens to watch Maple Leaf Wrestling. I think Maple Leaf Pro is going to give them an opportunity to relive that experience, to share that experience with the next generation, or really even for some 2 generations down the line. And I think we're going to hook some new fans that they're going to say, some are going to say, hey, that was cool. I went there. It's kind of like reminded me of when I was younger. That was cool. Some are going to come in, I hope, and I believe, and say, man, that was so much fun to go down memory lane. But did you see, those women go up there and knock it out of the park? Did you see, so-and-so with that athleticism? Did you see you feel the emotion of this? And I think we'll hook some new fans and, rebuild the Maple Leaf brand from the bottom up, which is what we've been doing since August, and have an unbelievable night there, May 10th in Toronto. And then, then it turns to Montreal, your hometown, PCO's hometown, where I think we step it up even to another level. We're going to have thousands of fans there. I feel strongly about that. And I think we'll have, a great card, because as much work as it is to put it together, as Triple H said, Dusty Rhodes' line, booking ain't easy. The whole group here at MLP is going to work hard to make sure that every time somebody spends $1 on Maple Leaf Pro, they get that money back and some in enjoyment and memories.
I love it. I love everything about it. And as I said to you privately, I love everything that you have done, and I've long been a fan and admire anyone who flew the flag on national television. This one right here, I was a fan of. So we are rooting for you. So happy that we're able to work together. So happy that Ant made the introduction, and so happy with the work that you're doing for us. And you'll always have a home here. But I will be watching May 10th, July 5th. And anything that we can do to shine a spotlight on Maple Leaf Pro, just consider it done, because love everything that you guys are doing. And I love that you have Morrow on the call, greatest of all time. You're just checking off all the boxes. So continued success. Congratulations on a great launch debut, couple events so far, and can't wait for next month in Toronto. Thank you, Scott. This has been great. Love getting your insights into the backstage world, and I can't wait to hear what you have to write about Josh Alexander debuting in AEW. And one of these days, I need to know more. I told Ant, you dropped a WrestleMania 3 reference. You were in attendance at the Pontiac Silverdome. Yeah. I wanted more on that. I can't believe you were there. You just dropped that. Talk about saying I've been there, done that. Holy crap, you were at WrestleMania 3? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was awesome. So thanks for all those kind words, Ariel, and thanks for having me a part of this. I'm excited. Looking forward to getting together and hunkering down and doing the next More drop coming out of Mania. And if you're not in Toronto, if you can't order on Triller TV on May 10th, check out our YouTube page. You've mentioned him a few times. He's never going to let me forgive it. He's never going to let me forget it or forgive me if I don't say. Ann Evans has kind of been spearheading our YouTube, making sure we get out there, helping this content get out there. So there's so much stuff on our YouTube, both the current stuff that you've seen from from Forged in Excellence and Mayhem, our events so far, but also some classic stuff in there. You get to see some amazing old classic footage in there. So check it out. Even if you're not a fan of classic wrestling, go watch some of it and see. I think you'll have a little fun just diving into some of that stuff.
Thank you, Scott. Good luck next month. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Take care.
There he is, Scott D'Amore, the founder, the president of Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. Great insights. And he's right. The YouTube page is great. And if you actually go on uncrowned.com right now, and at the top there's a search bar, you type in his name, D'Amore Drop, you'll see his first two articles. Some, a little bit dated now because they were about Mania, but others, some great little nuggets there. And like the little nugget that he attended WrestleMania 3. I mean, could you imagine attending WrestleMania 3, getting to see arguably the greatest match in WrestleMania history, Ricky Steamboat against Macho Man? Of course, one of the most famous matches, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. Do we have that? Yeah, we have it right. No, that's WrestleMania 4. Sorry, screwed that up. But that was Hogan Andre, the rematch. Well, not really the rematch because they had wrestled many times before. They just kind of pretended like WrestleMania 3 was the first one. Anyway, it's great stuff. Obviously, I'm a proud Canadian. I'm going to support a Canadian brand. And, I felt for him there, talking about getting the rug pulled underneath you. I know what that feels like when it's kind of out of your hands. But for him to dust himself off, build his own thing, and kind of be in charge of his own destiny, in my opinion, is supremely impressive and also inspirational in its own right. So, and I know a lot of people within the business respect his insights. So we are very lucky to have him a part of the Uncrowned team, and looking forward to more drops in the following weeks. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.